I can't wait to see what happens. This is going to be some great baseball. I've told you all year long how my affinity and my feelings towards this Mariners team, but here's the thing that just might be their Achilles heel, and I can't believe it, man. That first half was not good. They were monsters in the second half, and that is 3 years in a row, by the way, that they went from bad first halves to monstrous second halves. This team needs to start getting it going earlier, man. I don't know what adjustments they need to make for the first half of the season, but they need to make them, and they need to make them quick, because right now there was about 3 to 5 winnable games in the first half, and if they just got 2 of them, we weren't even having this conversation right now. So the Mariners are fascinating. I just worried they're going to run out of time. That's the thing that sucks about this. The Astros, man, the Astros have lost 6 of their last 10, but they've won 2 in a row. If there's one thing the Astros know how to do, it's win when the chips are down, and that's what they are doing. I think you're going to get the Astros in the playoffs. I think you're getting the Texas Rangers in the playoffs, and I hate to say it. I don't want to see it, but I do think it's going to end up being the Mariners on the outside looking in. I just think they're out of time. Now, I might be wrong, and I hope I am. And again, they are playing against the Texas Rangers, so they do kind of hold their own destiny in their hands. But that's a tough ask to just go win out the rest of the year against the Rangers, who are currently standing in first place.
There's always that team, right? There's always that team that goes in and nobody expects anything and they just make a run. And I'll tell you right now, it's a team that we have dumped on all year, and I think rightfully so, but the team that kept Chicago out. What about the Milwaukee Brewers? We have talked so far in this show. We have talked about Houston, we've talked about Toronto, we've talked about Tampa and Baltimore, we've talked about Atlanta, we've talked about Philadelphia, we've talked about Miami. We have not said a word about the Milwaukee Brewers, and as we have pointed out over and over, Deck, there's not a more consistent team than the Milwaukee Brewers. Y'all, they win at any given point. They are 6-4, 7-3 out of any 10-game sample size that you go look at. They are the most consistent team in here. The Braves have gone on big losing streaks and big winning streaks. The Dodgers have done it. The Marlins did it. Hell, the Marlins coming off the All-Star break. As much as you and I have said this team is talented enough to get there, there was a point where after the break they lost like 11 out of 13, and we were both like, maybe we just misread, right? Like we didn't, because we're damn good at this job, but we both thought maybe we misread, and the Marlins come storming back. But everybody has been streaky except the Brewers. There was no point where we came on and said, hey, what do you think about that 12-game winning streak? What do you think about that 8-game winning streak, that 10-game winning streak of the Brewers? They don't do that. They just go and they grind and they get there. And Miami v. Milwaukee could be a fun opening series.
Talked up the Brewers quite a bit just now, and rightfully so. This is a team that year in, year out dominates their division. Here's why I don't think the Brewers are this year's Phillies. They never are. They've never been. I have never seen them do it. Every single year they get to the playoffs. Every single year they win this division. Every single year they're bumped early. They never have the bats. Their pitching all of a sudden falters every single October. I don't know why, but that's what happens. The Milwaukee Brewers are just the Minnesota Twins in different uniforms. They are just there to get to the playoffs. They're just there as fodder so someone else can move forward. That's how it always happens. That's how I see them. You know what? You're going to look at me and be like, how dare you say such a thing? When has the situation not been this? It's always been this. They get to the playoffs, they win their division, they get knocked out. The end. Period. Stop. Prove me wrong, Brewers, by all means. I have no problem if you want to go ahead and win and go to the World Series. Do it. I would love to see it. You're not gonna, though, because you're the Brewers, and I love it. Listen, I've been saying all year that the Diamondbacks are a playoff team, and I want to thank the Diamondbacks for making me look like a genius, because I've been talking about them being a playoff team this season for over a year going into last season. I kept telling you guys when we were ending the show, watch out for the D-backs this upcoming year. It's going to be crazy, and look what they've done. They're a playoff team. They haven't clinched yet, but they are going to clinch, and I'm very excited to see the D-backs in here. Philly is a home field advantage, but Philly is going to have to face Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. That's a problem for Philly. I initially was going to say Philly, but the more I think about those two arms who have been phenomenal, especially Gallen, I wonder if Philly is going to be able to get through that short series. If it was a long series, a normal 5-game series or 7-game series, I might give you the exact opposite answer. But because it's a short series that requires 2 wins and they're running into Zach Gallen and they're running into Merrill Kelly, it makes me pump the brakes a little bit. I'm actually going to take the Diamondbacks.
I don't hate it, and I honestly don't hate the reason. The whole time I was thinking in my head, what's the best way to negate a home field advantage like Philly has? And the answer is with great pitching to keep their bats quiet and the crowd out of it. That's how you do it. And if anybody that they would meet up with in the wild card round has the ability to do that, it is the Arizona Diamondbacks. But Philadelphia is stinking good with the bats, man. And all it takes, in my opinion, you got to get through those first 2. If you can get into the third man in the 5-man for Arizona, you got a much better chance to win this series. So my thought here is Arizona either takes the first 2 in the series. If Philly takes either one of the first 2, then they win the series. The question mark is, will one of the 2 aforementioned pitchers have just enough of an off night that the Phillies can throw the door open and steal one of the first 2 games? And I know it's tough to use the word steal when they are the higher seed and playing at home, but I am willing to take the odds that a very good and progressively getting better Philly offense can just force one of those 2 guys to have just enough of an off night to win like a 5-4 baseball game. And if they can take it to a final and decisive third game, then I like the Phillies, and I think there's a good enough chance there. Add that to being in Philadelphia, home of the nastiest sports fans in the United States of America. I'm going to lean Philadelphia. I don't like going chalk, but I have to here.
Everything is good reasoning. By the way, these are 2 series where I do think it could be anybody's series, especially with the chaos that is the shortened series of a best of 3. But yeah, this is. I don't think either of us would be wrong in our picks here because these are very evenly matched up for completely different reasons.
Who's the worst matchup for the Braves? Diamondbacks or Phillies?
Phillies. I think the Phillies are that offense scares me for against the pitching for the Braves. That's simply it. Not unlike the same reason he just gave. Hey, what can negate the great pitching that the first 2 pitchers have for Arizona? The Phillies have an offensive juggernaut over there. You know, you got Schwarber, who just only hits homers. They got Bryce Harper. Nick Castellanos was back to being an all-star this year. By the way, Trey Turner is back to being Trey Turner. That lineup is disturbing. And if I'm the Braves, I do not want to run into the Phillies.
Yep, I could not agree with you more. I mean, listen, we just talked about it. Arizona's got a great top 2 in the rotation, but once you get through those 2, you get to a spot where I think the Braves bats will become explosive against Arizona. Even if Arizona takes one of the first 2, I think everything after that belongs to Atlanta versus Philly, where honestly, I think we get in a 2-way slug contest, man. I think it's gonna be a run derby if it's Atlanta v. Philly. And the question mark for Atlanta is front end pitching. You got guys on the DL coming off. You got guys that are very prone to being very streaky here and there. So Philly is the team that I absolutely would not want to see in the second round if I'm Atlanta. You are hoping the Diamondbacks can have a good start. And by the way, that also means that those 2 front-end guys are coming in on kind of short rest. I mean, it won't be a true short rest, but they will have worked, whereas you guys will be off a rest. I want Arizona in round 2 if I'm Atlanta, without a doubt.